Hello, everybody. Hey, happy Saturday afternoon or evening if you're on the East Coast. Or if you're replaying this later, happy whatever time of day it is for you. My name is Drew Boudreau with College Audition Pros, and I am so very, very happy to speak to my friend Matty Miller again up in Chico. And Matt is the head of the musical theater program at Chico State. Matt, thank you again for hanging out with me.
Well, I mean, any opportunity that I get to banter with my friend Drew, I will take it.
Hooray! So I want to know first a little bit about you and how because you're a professional performer. How did that take you to Chico State?
Yeah, thank you. So again, my name is Matthew Teague Miller. Everybody calls me Matty. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm coming to you from the ancestral lands of the Machupta people here in Chico, and I grew up in Northern California, and I come from a long lineage of teachers at different levels. My brother is the head of a business department at a high school in Sacramento. My mom was an elementary school principal and teacher. My dad was a middle school PE teacher and athletic director. So like teaching has been in my blood from as soon as I could start talking. But I was also a theater person. So when I was starting my university experience, I actually started first 2 years. I intended to just go straight into teaching. And I did 2 years at a community college to get all my GEs done so that I could transfer to a state institution and get my teaching credential and teach just like everyone else in my family. And then I just kept finding myself in the theater department and getting cast, and I couldn't stop. And so I applied for one musical theater program and thought if I get into the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, CCM, into their musical theater BFA program, I'll take that as a sign that I'm supposed to at least try this for a while. And I got in and got my BFA there, moved to New York, and just kind of did it until I had to start directing and teaching. And so I started that transition on the East Coast. I worked in the education department of the George Street Playhouse, which is an equity theater company in New Jersey. I taught at a performing arts high school in New Jersey. Then I taught at a college prep high school for a while back in California. And then I decided to I go to graduate school to get my MFA in directing. So my BFA is in musical theater, my MFA is in directing. And when I was I got my MFA at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And as I was in that university setting for the first time since I was at CCM at 21, 22 years old, I was like, man, I love this environment. It is so rich with learning and hunger and art and creativity, and I want to keep doing this. I actually didn't go to get my MFA to teach. I went to get my MFA to direct. And I did that too. I mean, I ended up running an equity theater company in Iowa for 5 years. But I just fell in love with the environment of a liberal arts university campus. And so I was casually looking for jobs and still living not in California, which is where I was from. And the Chico State job came along, and they were looking for somebody to run the musical theater program who also had a background in directing. And it was 90 minutes from my parents' house. And I thought, well, this is, it's a program that has it at that time. It was a BA in musical theater. But it was a program that I thought I could really do some cool things with. So I took the job. And, my kids get to see Grammy on a regular basis because she's in Sacramento. And I think we've created something really special here at Chico State that's unlike any other musical theater program, frankly, in the landscape.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
So that's how I ended up here in Chico. And I'm I'm the associate chair of the Department of Music and Theater. I'm on the University Senate and the University Diversity Council. And actually, I'm not on the Diversity Council anymore. I stepped away from that because I'm now the president of the Musical Theater Educators Alliance.
That's
So
right.
I got a lot of balls in the air that I juggle. But it's a special place, and I'm really happy to be here.
We've talked a lot. I didn't know the fact um, that you were so dead set on being a teacher early on.
Isn't that bonkers? Yeah. I mean, at the time it was elementary school because I love kids. And
Oh,
so
really?
I did 2 years at Solano Community College. And luckily, Solano Community College at the time had a really exciting theater program that just kept calling to me. So
Wow.
it was the perfect situation for me to continue going down the path of the theater arts.
Oh man. So, speaking of you being associate chair of the department and also being the president of the Musical Theater Educators Alliance, let's talk about the curriculum that is there now
Yeah.
with the BFA. So, a student hears Chico State, they might say, I don't know what that college is. And they might say, oh, it's not an audition. So, talk to me a little bit about what is in the curriculum. And do I get to take acting and singing and dance, and do I get to do that for all 4 years?
Thank you for asking that question,
Yeah.
and thank you for specifically addressing the non-audition part of our program because it is something that makes us very unique. And it's not because we don't have high standards and we're not rigorous, but it's because we don't teach students to be triple threats. We teach them to be quadruple threats, and the fourth threat is being an anti-racist and equitable and inclusive and to fight for social justice. Freshman year, starting this year, freshman year, all of our students, both the theater students and the musical theater students, they take their foundations of acting and their music theory and all of those, beginning ballet and all of those classes. But then
Yeah.
the other foundational course that they take is social justice and theater, because theater, unfortunately, for the last 100 years, has not been as inclusive as a lot of people thought it was.
Yeah.
Intentions aside, it has done a lot of harm. And so we're in an extraordinary moment in the theater industry to rebuild ourselves in the image that we aspire to be, which is equitable, inclusive, and
Yeah.
anti-racist. And so that's part of our curriculum. And back to the whole audition thing,
Yeah.
we don't think that the audition process as it's currently set up is super inclusive. We don't think that somebody should have to have taken ballet since they were 3 years old in order to go to the school of their choice. We think
Absolutely.
if you love musical theater and you're hungry for it and you want to be, a quadruple threat as I just laid out to you, then this is the place for you. So to the curriculum, it's an 8-semester degree. It is, you take acting classes, dance classes, and music classes every semester. You get private voice lessons 7 of the 8 semesters that you're here. The first semester that you're here, you take a group voice lesson class, and the other 7 semesters that you're here, you get private voice lessons, one-on-one time with a voice instructor. We've got levels of ballet, jazz, tap, modern, and hip hop that students can take from based on their interest and based on where they want to grow and what level they are entering the program in. And the centerpiece to all musical theater and all theater is acting. It's not that we just sing, dance, and act. It's that we act while speaking, act while dancing, and act while singing. And so, the centerpiece to everything that we do is that acting component. So, we've got 3 acting professors here with terminal degrees in acting. Another thing that I'm super proud of is that we're also part of the inclusivity and part of the safe space that we're trying to create. Every single performance faculty in our department has been trained in best practices through theatrical intimacy educators, and we've all done multiple trainings with them, and one of our instructors, or one of our acting instructors, is actually part of the pilot program of their new teacher advocate program, which is, they don't do certification because they think it's and I agree with them, certification is problematic and exclusionary in a lot of different ways, but they are creating this intensive that is laying the groundwork for like the closest thing that they have to certification. And we have a full-time faculty member who is one of the 18 people selected to be a part of that program.
Wow.
So yeah, did I answer the question, Drew?
You did. You answered it and more. You put the hot fudge and whipped cream that I wasn't expecting on top of that. That was great.
Well, you know me. I am a little bit of a hot fudge kind of person.
You know what? My assistant and I were talking about this at Thespian Conference about Halloween candies. Matty, your opinion on banana Laffy Taffies?
Oh, that's not Halloween candy. Halloween candy, no. Halloween candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and Almond Joys. I won't take anything else. So, I'm sending it back.
Send it back. So you touched on inclusion, and I actually want to dig into that even more. We've had, a great sort of reckoning and conversation with ourselves in theater in the last few years, especially about race and especially about gender diversity and inclusion. And one of the things that I want to zero in on is body inclusion. This idea that to be in musical theater, to be a role, there is a certain physical type, and that is unnecessarily deflating and harmful for a lot of students. So can you talk about like body type inclusivity as well?
Yeah, well, I'll just start by saying here at Chico State, everybody is welcome. And see previous note about the audition process, and just that's who we are. And I would add, there's ableism in the theater industry that it keeps people out or makes people feel like they're not being included as well. We do, we're not perfect and we make mistakes every day. Then part of being a social justice warrior is acknowledging that intentions do not equal impact. And so, we don't always do the right thing, but we always try to do the right thing. I think there are levels to this, right? There is, casting on our main stage shows. That's like the first thing that people think about. And I'm not going to use different students as examples because that would be inappropriate, but I would say that we cast people here at Chico State based on the spirit that they bring into the room, the spark. I started using spark when that Pixar movie Jazz came out because that's what they talked about, the spark and the spirit and their humanity. And frankly, I think that as we rebuild the musical theater industry, that's what we're going to be rebuilding. And Chico State is not alone in that. I don't want to claim, any sort of we're doing it right and other people doing it wrong. I mean, the fact of the matter is the traditional types were based on, they were based on like commedia stock characters and that sort of thing. But then with regards to physical type, the people in power all looked a certain way, and they all moved through the world in a certain way. And so the way that things had been cast for years and years were based on what those people in power thought were attractive. But people of all shapes, sizes, colors, whatever else, ables, they all fall in love. They all have their hearts broken. They all struggle to get what they want and to go on the adventure of life. And so the idea that you have to look a certain way in order to play a certain part is ridiculous. So, we are we focus on not just inclusive casting, but we disclose everything up front to students, and boundaries are respected. We are very cognizant of the fact that theater for a long time, and this is starting to change, thankfully, because we in the academy are demanding it, but For a long time, theater was people who wanted to be actors were taught to do whatever it takes and to compromise anything it took in order to get the job that they wanted.
Their own health, their own ethics, et cetera, et cetera.
All of that, right?
Right.
Absolutely. And those days, we're killing those days. That
Yeah.
idea is got to go away
Right.
because it's not good for people's emotional health and physical health. Again, regardless of how you move through the world, there is a place for you in the theater on stage. And
Yeah.
so that is the philosophy that we have, and we work really hard to try to not perpetuate the harmful types that had been taught for years and years and years
Yeah.
in our industry.
We were just talking about that today at the Thespian conference. I'm here in California right now for the California Thespian Festival, and we were talking about that really harmful idea that you and I grew up with, where your professor said, if you can see yourself doing anything other than acting, do that, because acting is so hard. And now I'm like, or do acting and that. You can be more than just one thing.
Right.
And now Broadway even is beginning to, I mean, it's probably years away from happening, but at least beginning to have conversations of maybe 8 shows a week isn't the best for people's physical health.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And I do agree that the grind is not the grind that we do, the 10 out of 12s day after day during
yeah,
tech and all of those things are
yeah,
not healthy. And we've got to marry that with or negotiate that
yeah,
with the financial needs of putting on these multi-million-dollar productions on Broadway.
of course.
I mean, if we drop down to 4 shows a week, I fear that those $200 tickets, which are too expensive anyway, are going to
Yes,
then become a $400 ticket, making it even harder to have an inclusive attitude with our audiences, right?
totally.
So I don't know what the answer is, but the fact that we're having the conversations,
Yeah,
I think, are so important, and it's the beginning of what I think is going to be the next most exciting chapter of musical theater.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um, speaking of being able to do other stuff, man, these are just segueing so smoothly into each other. Um, Speaking of doing other stuff, I have a BA because I wanted to double major, and also I didn't want to be around actors all the time. I love actors. I am an actor, but oh, for God's sake, I need a break from actors sometimes. Can a student minor or double major within the BFA at Chico?
Oh my gosh. I don't understand why any program would not allow that. And that was a little judgy. I apologize. Apologize to anybody listening that doesn't allow it. But I can't guarantee you that if you double major with psychology or business, that's one of those high impact
Yeah,
engineering. That's a good
yeah,
one. If you double major with engineering, you're probably not gonna graduate in 8 semesters.
yeah,
But we'd still support you and do everything we could to accommodate you. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can double
yeah,
major. Yes, you can have as many minors as you want, and we have students do that all the time. And one has to, the only caveat that I think is really important to have that transparency is, you might have to take a couple of GEs over the summer break in order to try to cram in everything into your schedule, or there is nothing wrong with somebody who goes to school for 4.5 years or 5 years, if that's what works for you.
totally.
Our philosophy here at Chico State is, and this calls back to the previous conversations about that we were just having about inclusion and
Yeah,
type even.
yes,
There is not one way to be a theater person. It is not my job as the program coordinator, musical theater program coordinator at Chico State, to tell you how to move through this world.
yeah,
My job is to inspire you. My job is to give you all of the tools that I have so that you can do with those tools whatever you want. We have we're never going to be a program because we want to celebrate our alum regardless of where they
yeah,
choose to go and what they choose to do. We're never going to be one of those programs that just lists all of our
yeah,
alumni that are on Broadway. We have alumni that are performing on Broadway and writing for Broadway shows and those kinds of things. And you know what? Their success is equally as exciting to me as the students that finish their musical theater degree, maybe they audition for a little while, and then they go into real estate and they make more money than I do because they are singing and dancing in their own way, selling houses in a really inflated California market.
You can have a 3-bedroom house.
But like, you know, so yes, you can, the time that you have at Chico State is yours to do with what you want. And we're not going to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're just going to, like I said, inspire you and give you as many tools as we can so that you can be successful as you define success. I had a musical theater student just graduate last year, and she's decided she's an elementary school teacher. Circle back to elementary school teachers. She's an elementary school teacher in Colorado, and she is so happy. She came into town the other day, and I saw her, and she is so incredibly happy. And yeah, maybe she sings a little with her kids, and maybe they put on little plays in class, but it doesn't even matter. She's a successful person because she's a happy person.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that is it. She's a successful person because she's a happy person. That is it. Your degree does not dictate what you have to be doing the rest of your life. It's just 4 years that you're spending getting good at what you're studying. Yeah. And that's where it can end if you like, or if you want to keep studying, you can keep doing that. But there is, teachers, parents ask me all the time, well, I'm concerned. I want them to have a backup plan. It's so unstable. There is nothing that says that once you get your theater degree, you have to keep doing theater and never get a different job. Part of being in theater is not doing theater, is either trying to get theater, taking a break, stepping away from it, coming back to it. And that's regardless of anywhere that you go. If you're at Chico State, if you're at Juilliard, if you're at Royal Shakespeare in England, that's going to be your path. You're going to train, and then you're going to make choices after that, no matter where you go.
And I contest, Drew, if I can build off of what you're saying, that the skills in theater and musical theater are so transferable to other things as well. I mean, it's like, somebody is going to get a degree in English. What are they going to English? Like, what is that? I mean, that's regardless of what your degree is in, you take the tools that you get and you can apply them to many different things in life. And I got to tell you, the first time I bought a house, after I had been on tour for a while and I had saved up enough money and I was just a few years out of college, I bought a house and I knew how to remodel the attic into being an extra bedroom because of everything I learned how to do in shop, in the scene shop.
Yes.
Right. So, and we laugh about the real estate agents singing and dancing, but you know what? They are charismatic. We teach deadlines. We work as a team. We collaborate. We leadership. Those are super important skills, whether you're on Broadway or not. And you know what? There are just as many unhappy people who decide to get BFAs and be on Broadway as any other profession. It does not equal success. And if it's what you want to do, that's okay too.
Yeah. I love that. It's a ton of my friends who are like CFOs and CEOs have their degree in musical theater, because you do talk about team building. You do have to share a common vision. You do have to inspire a team, and you have to listen. A good actor is listening all the time and then making a choice after that. So the soft skills you get in theater are totally transferable to the business world, law, medicine, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Frankly, if I had more doctors who listened instead of just poking me, I would love that. When I had my appendix removed, I saw 3 different doctors, and they were like, "Does that hurt?" It's like, "Of course it hurts." Can a student minor in dance while they're doing the BFA?
Yeah, and so I would say 60% of our students do. 60% of our musical theater students do. The choreographer in our program, Megan Glenn-Zollinger, who's one of my dear friends and a brilliant human, kind human, she choreographs our shows. She teaches the dance classes for the musical theater program. She's also the coordinator of the dance minor.
Cool.
So she, that's, and frankly, her previous institution, she was the BFA dance coordinator at the previous institution. So she's a dancer who loves musical theater.
Wow.
And knows musical theater, and so she found a home here working with us. And so yes, many students do it, and I wouldn't say that it's encouraged or discouraged. People just do it because they can,
Yeah.
and it's right there. So
Oh, how terrific.
well, absolutely.
Okay, so uh, I've lived in Chico. I've walked the grounds of Chico State many times. Paint a picture for our friends on the internet who are watching right now. Talk to me about what the area of Chico is like.
Yeah, so this is the part of California that a lot of people don't think of. Like, when people are like around the country, like, oh, you're from California, you must go to Disneyland a lot. Well, Disneyland's like 8.5 hours away. Oh, so you go to the beach then? Well, the beach is it's like 3.5 hours, 3 hours
Right.
to the beach,
Right.
But this is like the beginnings of Redwood Country, and it's an outdoorsy town that, it's a college town. I would say that. I was thinking of just that. I was thinking about that today because we had a big event on campus, and I was here this morning, and afterwards I walked downtown to get at Stoble Coffee. Shout out to Stoble. You and I have met
Yes.
a couple of times. It's and I was just like taking in the downtown. And it is a college town. This is a college town in Northern California that is unlike some schools. The university is literally located downtown. Like, I walk off campus and I am downtown, and it's a cute
Yes.
little downtown with boutiques and coffee shops and bars and stuff to do. It's not a big town. It's not. It is not. Like we said, it's 8.5 hours from Disneyland. It's also Beyonce ain't stopping here on her next international tour, and we've got an airport 90 minutes away. I mean, it's not a metropolis. It's a cute northern California college town. I met with the event that we were at. There were some prospective students on campus, and there was a really nice family from the Palo Alto area, which is where Stanford is located.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, the brick buildings, it feels like a little Stanford.
Yes.
It's got that history. It's over 100 years old. It started as a teachers college and then became part of the California state system. I skipped a couple steps in there, but our listeners don't care about that. And it's just a nice little town. It's got the 10th largest city park in the country, which sounds like, okay, well, that's like a big deal, but it's like literally 3.5 times the size of Central Park in New York City, which we
It's
all know.
huge.
Yeah, and this is 3.5 times that size.
Yes.
And it's a short walk from our college campus. In fact, the stream that runs down the middle of Bidwell Park, which is what it's called, continues through our campus, and you have to walk over a footbridge to get from one side of campus to the other.
Yeah.
It's a sweet little town. But again, if you want to go see the Anaheim Angels play or the New York Mets play, you're going to drive 3 hours to catch them at the Oakland Coliseum, which is the worst stadium in Major League Baseball.
That is true.
Yeah, no one's going to debate us on that one.
No.
The last time I was there, I saw that somebody was wearing a T-shirt that said, "The Oakland Coliseum, the last dive bar in Major League Baseball." And it was an A's fan. So anyway, it's just not a big city. So if people want a big city, then they should go to Cincinnati, or they should go to Carnegie, where, they have Pittsburgh right there, or NYU or something. It's just, that's not who we are. But we got a mall, and we've got a park, and
You got a Target, you got a Petco. These are places that I frequented very often when I was living in Chico.
Totally. Yeah.
And what, if anyone's familiar with Southern California, I describe the aesthetic of Chico State and Chapman in similar descriptions. That you're walking around a really cute, bustling downtown, and you turn a corner and whoa, there's a big giant college. So as a student, it's a great place to go to school because it's so easy to get around. And you feel like you're on a historical campus because a lot of that old brick campus is really kind of awe-inspiring. And then you got that new science building, which is like cutting edge.
Right.
And then you walk 20 feet and you're at one of the, microbreweries in town.
Right.
And then you take a 5-minute drive. Of course, you haven't had anything to drink at the microbrewery. You drive 5 minutes and then you're in the woods. Like,
Right.
it is just the coolest. So if
Yeah.
you're looking for everything on a small scale, like that's exactly what Chico brings.
And then Drew, in terms of theater, the
Yeah.
theaters on campus, we're really lucky in these historic buildings. We've got 3 different theaters that our students get to perform in. We've got a 100-seat black box, like off-Broadway style theater. We've got a 450-seat proscenium theater with a fly space and a hydraulic orchestra pit. In a lot of places, that would be the main stage, but we also have a 1,200-seat auditorium that is a roadhouse essentially on our campus where we do our spring musical every year. So students get to work in all those different spaces, and they're all, I mean, you probably couldn't, but I could throw a baseball from one to the other.
Bye. I will have you know, I tested my speed at the Orange County Fair last year, and my fastball came out to 44 miles per hour, sir.
44, Drew. Wow.
That's right. That's right.
Nice.
I had somebody helping me. They were pushing my arm.
Performance enhancing drugs. There's definitely steroids involved in that pitch.
That's right. So, what is, if I'm a California, no, let's go the other way first. If I'm from out of state, what is my tuition, room, and board sticker price?
So tuition for out of state is between $19,000 and $20,000. Room and board is not that different for most people. It's like in state or out. It's about $6,000 a year. But that's if you live on campus, and because this is a college town, there's a lot of places to live. Students usually live on campus their freshman year, and then room with people off campus. After that.
And off-campus living, I got to say, is very convenient. It's very close to the college, and these are historic craftsman-style homes. They're very nice.
Yeah. So it's and we do have scholarships and financial aid available also. In terms of scholarships, we have performance-based scholarships that we get to give to freshmen that are saved special for freshmen every year. So. There's that too, and then for in-state, which I'm assuming is going to be the follow-up question, it's between $7,000 and $8,000. And then roughly the same for living. I will tell you, though, I'm not an admissions person.
Yes.
Like, I teach musical theater. I got jazz hands. I'm not. You may want to look into that. For some specificity with an actual admissions professional at some point. But that is my understanding.
We were just talking about that today at the workshop I was teaching. A lifetime of student loans is not worth jazz hands.
Right.
Well, awesome. When you mentioned the cost, Colleen Canning sent the emoji of the guy who's so shocked he's dead and 2 clapping hands.
One thing I want to say, I talked about scholarships and financial aid, but we employ students in our costume shop and our scene shop, musical theater students as well, so that you can get a part-time job in this building. I mean, there's not one for everybody, but if that's something that you're interested in, it is a way, especially the costume shop. I would say that most of the people working in the costume shop right now are musical theater majors who also
neat.
So, that's another way one could supplement that experience.
Well, and what I like about that is I always talk all day about how a lot of BFAs are so heavily concentrated in performances that you miss the benefits of a BA, which is a more eclectic degree. But the fact that you can spend so much time in a scene shop and a costume shop and really get those skills that you might otherwise miss, I think is so dang cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. And it's something that makes us unique. I wasn't allowed to do anything like that when I went and got my BFA. And I just, like I said, your time at school is your time to make the most of however you want to do that. So that's part of our philosophy.
I love that. Well, we are going to open it up for questions right now. If you have a question about Chico State for Matty, go ahead and type it in the comments. If you were watching this in replay, also type it in the comments. And if Matty happens to scroll past it on Facebook, he'll answer. More likely, I will ask him, and then I will get back to you with that answer.
Well, I know we're on Facebook Live right now, but Facebook kind of is the devil, so I don't spend a ton of time on it. I do post really cute pictures of my kids on Instagram, though.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know.
that's
Did we just
terrific.
get taken down? Did Facebook just take us down?
I just got a poison dart in my neck. Is that weird? All right. Well, we don't have any questions right now. That's okay. Go ahead and leave them in the comments, and we will get right back to you. I encourage everyone who is making their list for colleges that include musical theater. Chico State should go on your list. Absolutely, 100%. It should be one of your between 15 and 20 schools that you put on your college list.
Can I throw something in there, Drew? Because your people following you on Facebook are already going to know this because it's the kind of thing that you say. But I just want to say to anybody that's shopping around for musical theater schools, it ain't what it used to be. There used to be a handful of schools that you could get this degree in, and there were some that were more prestigious than others. And that's where the history of all of these lists and rankings and whatnot go. Stop looking at ranking sheets. Start looking at start searching for the best school for you, not the best school. And if that's in Northern California at Chico State, great. But if that's, in the Midwest or in Florida or wherever else, that's great too. But pay no attention to what other people say, because those things are just based on a history. I mean, Caitlin Hopkins and I just had a conversation about this at Texas State about how those lists come from Broadway credits of the alumni, and the Broadway credits of the alumni are based pretty much on how old the program is.
Right.
And sometimes these new, fresh programs like Chico State have an energy and an outlook that other programs don't, and that might be more conducive to what you're looking for.
And that's true across the board. I love new programs that people haven't heard of yet because they're hungry, they're fresh, they really want to deliver this vision that they have in their head. So programs like Chico State, programs like LIU Post, these are programs that their founders are still there, and they're still building this program. And sometimes you can just teams can pay their marketing team to get them listed in publications, and doesn't really mean anything about the nuts and bolts of a program. And there is no better or worse program. There's just a good program for you. And a lot of that has to do with trade-offs. And this is my soapbox that I get on, is going to school in the Midwest, you're not going to LA or New York. That's maybe a con if you're thinking about it, but it's a pro because the Midwest is the hub of regional theater and summer stock. So you have this network you're tapped into. Every school has a pro and a con. And so you just got to find the school that has the most pros for you. And again, don't go into debt for jazz hands.
Right. And the only person that knows who the best school for you is you. So
That's
trust
right.
your impulse and trust your gut.
That's it. Hey, you have a great podcast that I want to alert the people of. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so in addition to my job here at Chico State and being the president of the Musical Theater Educators Alliance, I needed more to do. So Kiko Alvaro.
Don't you have children?
Yeah, I do, and they're at home right now. They're probably waiting for me to put them to bed. But Kiko Alvaro, who is the interim dean at the School of the Arts in Philadelphia. He and I have a podcast about musical theater education called Carefully Taught, Teaching Musical Theater with Matty and Kiko, and we have really wonderful guests on it. Drew was a guest at one point. Caitlin Hopkins was a guest. Marty Austin Lamar from Cal State Fullerton. I could go on and on because we get to talk to really, really cool people. You can definitely get a sense of what I bring into the classroom on the podcast, but then you could also hear some of these professors at the universities that you might be applying for as well. So it's a good time. Thank you for letting me plug it.
You forgot to plug the name.
Carefully Taught, Teaching Musical Theater with Matty and Kiko.
Oh, awesome. You can find it, I have learned, on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, that's right.
Which I should remind everyone, we have a podcast that we put out regularly that apparently you haven't heard based on the numbers. It's the College Audition Pros podcast. You can find it on Spotify as well. I stole that joke. I was on Disney Cruise Line about 10 years ago working in entertainment, and the cruise director comes on. The ship, plays all the Disney movies, and he goes, "Hey, upstairs is John Carter, which based in the box office you haven't seen."
I still haven't seen it. Yeah.
Save 3 hours, man. Enjoy yourself. All right. Thank you so much, Matty. I appreciate your time so very much. And if you have more questions for Matty, hit me up and I will get those to him.
All right. Thank you, Drew.